Hello, welcome back to Shivers and Stories. Today we are going to uncover some of the untold truths of one of history's most popular undead beings. Dracula. The name alone sends shivers down our spines. He is the king of vampires, a figure of darkness and dread. We picture his sharp fangs, his piercing gaze, and his cloak billowing in the night. Dracula embodies our deepest fears. He is the monster that lurks in the shadows, the creature that thirsts for our blood. But where did this iconic figure come from? What are the origins of the vampire myth? And why, even centuries later, are we still so fascinated by these creatures of the night? Today, let's discuss the untold truth about Dracula and vampires. We will explore the historical roots of these myths, examine their evolution over time, and uncover the reasons why they continue to captivate our imaginations. Prepare to enter a world of darkness, mystery, and the undead. The belief in vampires did not begin with Bram Stoker's Dracula. In fact, stories of these creatures have existed for centuries across different cultures and continents. Ancient civilizations, from Mesopotamia to Egypt, had their own versions of blood-drinking demons and spirits. In these early tales, vampires were often seen as vengeful spirits. They rose from the grave to prey on the living, seeking revenge or to satisfy their insatiable thirst for blood. Folklore offered ways to ward off these creatures, with garlic, sunlight, and religious symbols often cited as protection. One of the most persistent beliefs was that vampires needed to feed on blood to survive. This belief likely stemmed from the ancient practice of bloodletting. People believed that blood held life force, and its loss could lead to weakness and death. These early myths and beliefs formed the foundation for the vampire as we know it today. They established the core characteristics: an undead creature, a thirst for blood, and a connection to darkness and death. While vampire myths existed long before Bram Stoker, it was his 1897 novel Dracula that cemented the image of the vampire in popular culture. Stoker drew inspiration from folklore, superstition, and historical figures like Vlad the Impaler. He wove a tale of horror and suspense, introducing us to Count Dracula, a Transylvanian nobleman with a dark secret. Stoker's Dracula was more than just a bloodthirsty monster. He was an aristocratic figure, charming and seductive, yet utterly ruthless. He possessed superhuman strength, could control animals, and was immortal. But he also had weaknesses. Sunlight burned him, garlic repelled him, and he could be killed by a stake through the heart. Dracula was an instant sensation. The novel introduced several tropes that have become synonymous with vampires: the Transylvanian setting, the use of crucifixes and holy water as weapons, and the concept of vampires turning others into their kind through a bite. Stoker's novel provided a blueprint for countless vampire stories that followed, shaping our perception of these creatures for generations to come. Over the years, the character of Dracula has been adapted into numerous films, television series, and even stage productions. Each adaptation brought its own unique twist to the character, but the core elements introduced by Stoker remained intact. Iconic portrayals by actors like Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee, and Gary Oldman have each left an indelible mark on the vampire genre, further solidifying Dracula's place in popular culture. The influence of Stoker's Dracula extends beyond film and television. Modern vampire literature, from Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles to Stephenie Meyer's Twilight series, owes a debt to the foundations laid by Stoker. The fascination with vampires has also permeated other aspects of culture, including merchandise, memorabilia, and fan conventions dedicated to these enigmatic creatures. Scholars and academics continue to study Dracula, analyzing its themes, its impact on literature, and its reflection of societal fears and anxieties of the time. Today, Transylvania remains a popular destination for those intrigued by the Dracula legend, with tourists flocking to visit the supposed home of the infamous vampire. Contemporary vampire TV shows and movies continue to draw inspiration from Stoker's work, ensuring that the legacy of Dracula endures. From Halloween costumes to themed events, the image of the vampire, as shaped by Bram Stoker, remains a powerful and enduring symbol in modern culture. As we look at the evolution of vampire imagery, it's clear that while the depictions may change, the essence of what makes a vampire compelling remains rooted in the foundations laid by Stoker's Dracula. And so the modern vampire, with its blend of allure and terror, continues to captivate our imaginations just as it did over a century ago. Section 4, Beyond Dracula, Creatures of the Night in Literature. While Dracula remains the most iconic vampire, he is far from the only one. Bram Stoker's creation has undoubtedly left an indelible mark on the genre, but the world of vampire literature is vast and varied, filled with countless other intriguing characters and stories that have captivated readers for generations. Literature is filled with captivating tales of these creatures of the night. From the eerie and atmospheric to the romantic and tragic, vampire stories have taken on many forms, each offering a unique perspective on these enigmatic beings. These stories often delve into the human psyche, exploring our deepest fears and desires through the lens of the supernatural. Each author puts their own spin on the myth, exploring different facets of the vampire persona and adding new layers to their lore. Whether it's the seductive allure of the vampire, their eternal struggle with morality, or their place in society, these narratives provide a rich tapestry of themes and ideas that continue to resonate with readers. Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla from 1872 predates Dracula and introduces us to a female vampire who preys on young women. This groundbreaking work not only paved the way for future vampire literature, but also challenged contemporary notions of gender and sexuality, presenting a complex and multifaceted character who defied the norms of her time. This story explored themes of seduction, forbidden love, and the blurred lines between good and evil. Carmilla's relationship with her victims is both tender and terrifying, highlighting the duality of the vampire as both a predator and a lover. This nuanced portrayal has influenced countless other works, cementing Carmilla's place in the pantheon of vampire literature. Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire from 1976 gave us Lestat, a complex and philosophical vampire who grapples with his own immortality. Rice's novel redefined the vampire genre, infusing it with existential questions and moral dilemmas that challenged readers to see these creatures in a new light. Lestat's internal struggles and charismatic personality have made him one of the most enduring and beloved characters in vampire fiction. From the tragic romance of Twilight to the gritty realism of Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan's The Strain trilogy, vampire stories have evolved to reflect our changing fears, desires, and societal anxieties. Twilight's portrayal of vampires as brooding romantic figures captured the hearts of a new generation, while The Strain's depiction of a viral outbreak brought the vampire myth into the realm of modern horror, blending science fiction with ancient folklore. These diverse narratives keep the vampire myth fresh and relevant, reminding us that the darkness holds endless possibilities. As long as there are stories to be told, vampires will continue to haunt our imaginations, embodying our deepest fears and desires in ways that are both timeless and ever-evolving. The allure of the vampire lies in their ability to adapt and transform, ensuring that their legend endures for generations to come. Section 5, From Page to Screen, Vampires in Popular Culture. The allure of the vampire extends far beyond the written word. Cinema and television have embraced these creatures of the night, bringing them to life in ways that both terrify and enthrall us. The visual medium has allowed for a more visceral experience where the eerie atmosphere, haunting music, and special effects combine to create a truly immersive experience. From the silent era to modern blockbusters, vampires have become a staple of popular culture. The evolution of vampire portrayals on screen reflects broader changes in society and technology. Early films relied heavily on makeup and practical effects, while modern movies use advanced CGI to create more realistic and terrifying creatures. Early films like W. Murnau's Nosferatu from 1922 presented vampires as truly monstrous creatures, emphasizing their predatory nature and connection to death. Nosferatu's eerie appearance with his elongated fingers and gaunt face set the standard for cinematic vampires for decades to come. Later adaptations, like the Hammer horror films starring Christopher Lee, embraced the gothic horror of Stoker's novel, solidifying the image of the aristocratic and seductive vampire. Lee's portrayal of Dracula was both menacing and charismatic, capturing the duality of the vampire as both a predator and a tragic figure. In recent decades, vampire stories have taken on a more romantic and even sympathetic tone. This shift reflects changing societal attitudes towards monsters and the supernatural. Vampires are no longer just villains, they are complex characters with their own struggles and desires. Films like Interview with the Vampire and Bram Stoker's Dracula explored the inner turmoil and humanity of these immortal beings. These movies delved into the psychological aspects of being a vampire, portraying them as tortured souls who grapple with their immortality and the moral implications of their actions. The Twilight Saga presented a more teen-friendly version, focusing on the forbidden love between a human girl and a vampire. This franchise brought vampires into the mainstream for a younger audience, blending elements of romance, fantasy, and drama. Whether they are portrayed as terrifying monsters or brooding heroes, vampires continue to fascinate us on screen. Their versatility as characters allows them to fit into various genres, from horror to romance to action. This adaptability ensures that vampires remain relevant and captivating to audiences of all ages. Their ability to reflect our deepest fears and desires ensures their enduring presence in popular culture. Vampires tap into universal themes of life, death, and the unknown, making them timeless figures in storytelling. As long as these themes resonate with audiences, vampires will continue to haunt our screens and imaginations.